I had to. Part 2 of my Airbender the movie review. Even though it's a couple weeks out, I have to get it out of my system. It's been bugging me this whole time. There were a couple of things in part 1 that I didn't know was going to be part 1 at the time that I made it, that I didn't mention, that deserved mentioning on a superficial level, but something that still irritated me nonetheless. Most of the characters' names were incorrectly pronounced, which by itself seems like that's just a detail. It is just a detail. I shouldn't make such a big deal out of it. But still, you botched everything else so drastically. You had to botch getting the names right. You couldn't even get the damn names right. I understand the names come from various other cultures. They're inspired by various other cultures here on Earth. Perhaps that is the way that Ang is pronounced in Sanskrit, but guess what? This is a fictional universe. These characters have been created out of thin air and the ideas of human beings. And if they say, and they make an entire show, and for the entirety of the show, the character's name is pronounced Aang, then guess what? It's fucking Aang because they made it up and that's how it's pronounced. You don't change it to fix it. What kind of audacity is that? Oh, they took this name from another culture. I'm going to correct it. The poor little creators that actually made the show don't understand. They didn't understand what they were doing when they made the show. No, they fucking made the character. They named him Aang. I don't care if it's spelled the same. If they say it's pronounced a certain way, it's pronounced a certain way. And another thing, Sokka, S-O-K-K-A, K-K-A, Sokka, using standard American English. That is how that name would be pronounced, Sokka. One of the characters, I think he's introduced in the second to last episode in the first season, The Siege of the North, Part 1. His name is Han. He's Yue's betrothed future husband. He's a douchebag. He comes across as being a douchebag. One of the things that he does to, kind of get this idea of he's an asshole to the audience is he constantly mispronounces people's names. He calls Sokka Sokka. In the movie The Last Airbender, they call him Sokka. It's like, here, let me prove to you how much of a douchebag I am. I'm going to use the douchebag's pronunciation of your name throughout the entirety of this movie. It's a superficial thing, but oh my god, does it irritate the hell out of me. It's just one of those things. It was like the straw that broke the camel's back, almost, except that the camel's back had been obliterated like within the first 5 minutes of the movie. I don't want to give away too many spoilers from the show because it's good and I want everyone who sees this to actually watch the show. But a lot of times what's more important isn't exactly what happens, but how it happens and how it's portrayed on screen and the emotions that the audience goes through with the characters as the storyteller's telling their story. That's the important part. Like detailing just, analytically exactly what happened event by event is such a distillation of the experience of watching or listening to a piece of fiction that spoilers don't really, bug me so much. Unless you're a crappy filmmaker and the twist at the end is the best thing you've got going on. In the beginning of the movie, when the characters are introduced, in the show, originally Sokka and Katara are on a boat. In the movie, they're walking on land. Alright, fine. I understand the difficulty of actually paddling a canoe in the bays of Greenland. That might actually be, I don't know, kind of dangerous for the actors. Okay, fine. Go ahead and change that. But one thing that was inexcusable, the way that the characters are introduced, there is a shot that they so easy to do on film, and they freaking screwed it up. Aang comes out of his, shell, the ice shell, and Katara holds him in his arms, cradles him in his arms, and he looks up at her, and there's the framed of she's wearing the, Eskimo hood, and you get to see like her face, and she's like looking at him and like relieved that, oh, like, oh, he's okay. This particular shot, I mean, accompanied with the musical themes that keep getting repeated throughout the show, this particular shot is also repeated throughout the show. This is one of the things that's intrinsic to good movie making, but they've done it in a television show. To have an iconic image associated with music. So you have an emotion that's associated with this moment. And then during, key moments later on in the series, they keep repeating this to reinforce it. This is what good storytelling is all about. That shot, that iconic image, gone. Not in the movie. Not in the movie. This looks like he tried to do it, but he missed the point. He just clumsily, I think it was like a two-shot, like from the side or something, instead of the shot looking up at her. Ugh. And then, even worse, just to typify how clumsy of a storyteller that M. Night is, you would think that, oh, I just met this person, let's introduce ourselves, and that's exactly what happens in the show. There's some banter back and forth, everyone gets introduced, my name is Aang, my name's Katara, blah, 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 there's some banter. Sokka, of course, being the sarcastic guy that he was, being sarcastic. This is Appa, my flying bison. Oh, this is Katara, my flying sister. Which, in just a sentence typifies his entire personality, which was, of course, entirely absent in the movie. He's just the guy standing there. He's not the sarcastic, funny guy that you know from the show, that you actually like in the show. No, he's just the guy standing there like, I'm Katara's brother. Let's follow this bald kid around. Oh, so aggravating. In the movie, they don't even know each other's names until the third episode of the show that they show when they go to the Southern Air Temple. Oh yeah, the monks named me Aang. You introduce... Real human beings would introduce each other right away, Not like, oh, now that you've, followed me, 100 miles this way, flying on my, magical fluffy monster, now you'll finally hear my name, 3 episodes into the show. Oh, God. So it's just so clumsy. There's no need. It's not like you were cutting for time. It's not like you were saving time, like getting everyone's introductions properly done. What the fuck? So clumsy and terrible. I can't even do it. The one episode that he wanted to do, like the entirety of the episode, called The Blue Spirit, which is it's one of my favorite ones of the first season. He basically does his take on it. The whole action sequence is just wrong. The placements of the it's so wrong. Going into detail would be like another full 10 minutes. But anyway, there's a moment at the end where Aang and Zuko actually have like a moment to connect before Aang runs off, and he talks. Zuko doesn't do any talking, but Aang's talking to Zuko, and Zuko just sits there and listens, and it affects him. You can see how it affects him emotionally, and then later when he gets back to the ship, he's like, watch the show. It's really good. So it looked like they were going to get this part right in the movie. They had the scene set up. They're in the forest. There's a campfire there. It looks like, wow, this is straight from the show. And then instead of actually talking and having this emotional bonding moment, what does Aang do in the movie? He just picks up and leaves. I was sitting there, my jaw hit the floor while I was watching the movie. I was like, they had it. They were setting it up. They were actually going to do this part of the series justice. And what do? Big fuck you to the audience. Nope, we're not going to do it. It wasn't important. What do you mean it wasn't important? It was most... Oh, painful. Painful. So painful. I'm closing in on 10 minutes and it's still... One more thing. I can squeeze it in. At the end, there's actually, in the series... The battle at the end, it's kind of like a siege at Helm's Deep type of thing with the ships and stuff. I mean, huge scale battle that something you wouldn't expect from an animated show made in the U.S. And Aang, with the help of the Ocean Spirit, manages to actually kill some Fire Nation soldiers. Drown them, flings their ships away, and actually defeats the invasion. Physically defeats the naval invasion. What does he do in the movie? He gets all glowy. He does a couple of flails, makes a big wave, scary, and then the Navy just, backs away and retreats because Aang made a big wave and it was scary. You're fucking kidding me. I was face palming at the end like, no. How did you wanted to make it dark and edgy? In the scene in the animated show, he's actually attacking people, and then in the movie, he just makes a big wave and scares them all away. Oh my god. So fucking terrible and fucking aggravating. Ugh.